Have you ever talked to your mom about sex? That is the question we are going to be exploring today because I have had a profound experience doing just that. So before we go on, my name is Janet Denton Howes. I am a marriage coach and creator of two programs, 30 Days to Wanting It More and the Marriage Mastery Club. So just even me asking you that question probably has created some feelings in you. Let's try it again. Have you or would you ever talk to your mom about sex? Now, there will be some of you who are like, yeah, no problem. We talk about everything. But I think, and that's probably like 5% of the population. Other people, probably like myself, are feeling uncomfortable, squirmy, just like, ugh, no way, I would never do that. In the Facebook group and that's associated with 30 Days to Wanting It More, someone asked, would you ever invite your mom to join this program or this group? Would you ever tell them that you're doing it? Would you ever talk about the stuff that you're talking about in this group with your mom? And the majority of the women were like, no way, I would never do that. So why is that? We can talk to our moms and our friends about grocery shopping and cleaning clothes and career decisions and parenting choices. I mean, all sorts of things we can talk to them about. Why is it sex that causes us to feel so uncomfortable? And I think we just can't be the frogs in boiling water anymore because the risk of remaining so secretive about such a natural and important thing of marriage is really harming our culture a lot. And I see that again and again in the work I do with couples and supporting my participants in my program. The fact that we have to remain hidden and quiet and not talk about natural processes of life is really, really harmful. So we just need to acknowledge that we live in a really shame-based culture when it comes to sexuality, but yet it's all around us. For example, you might have had the experience of watching a movie with your mom or your parents or whatever, whenever, maybe younger or now, and a sex scene comes on or a suggestive scene comes on, maybe not full on, but they're kissing and making out, and you're sitting right next to the person there. And they've had sex before. I mean, you exist, so they've had sex before. You've had sex before. If you're here, is because I support married women, but yet you're sitting there in this uncomfortable experience, watching stuff happen, but yet never opening up to each other about the realities of life. It just seems ridiculous to me. I have had the blessing of this kind of happening, not so much out of my own will, but just the fact that my mom and I are pretty close, and this is my profession. And so it would have been really awkward to never talk about what I actually do. I am so grateful for this because it has deepened our friendship so much. And, my mom is open, but she never really talked to me very much about sex growing up. She kind of had the pop-up books and stuff and would call it a vulva, which I appreciate now. Back then I was like, ew, don't use that word. But now I appreciate that she used the correct term. But that's kind of where it stopped. Body functioning. We didn't talk about orgasms or clitorises or how to enjoy sex or getting in the mood or how frequent or anything like that until really I stepped into this realm of supporting women. And obviously I'm very open. I'm talking about this to the world wide right now. And there was this really cool moment. I mean, in the beginning, we kind of like skirted around the fact that this is what I did. But there was a really cool moment. We were in my old office and she was sitting on the bed in the office. And I don't know, I was kind of talking about some frustrations I had, or some women were saying something. And I was like, the media is causing so many problems for women. And I was kind of ranting. But then I realized I was talking around the issue. I wasn't actually coming out and saying anything. And so I just turned to her in such an awkward way. And I was like, what's your favorite position? I mean, it was super awkward, right? Of course. But I'm like, I got to do this. I got to step out. And if I'm telling people we got to be more open, I got to be more open myself. And she kind of explained, but not really, not using any terms. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's mine too. Or it was. Things have changed for me. But for so long, that was mine too. And it's like a non-traditional position. And suddenly I felt like so much relief. Like, we're just talking about bodies here. We're just talking about biology. We're just talking about, it would make sense that my mom and our bodies would function similarly. I mean, our body types are similar. I get personality traits from her. Why wouldn't this be the case too? And how much I had been missing out on not talking to her because I'd been feeling kind of weird and shameful because this wasn't like the traditional missionary position or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, this is crazy. How many years have gone by where I could have been talking frankly and openly with her and getting some really great wisdom. I mean, she's in her 60s. I love women in their 60s. But I was missing out on that. And she told me later, she's like, I tried to kind of bring things up around sex before, when you were younger, a teenager, but you seemed to be uncomfortable and I didn't know what to do. And so no one really knows what to do. That's the challenge. No one wants to make the first step. No one wants to seem like the weirdo who's talking about sex, right? Because we live in this culture that's so weird about it, that don't talk, don't explain, don't use the terms, don't get, talk about it vaguely, like everyone needs a little loving once in a while, but like actually getting down to the nitty-gritties. It's just bodies. And I'm learning so much right now. My girls are 9 and 10, and I'll do another video about talking to my girls about sex, but I'm learning so much about just it's just bodies. That's it. It's like an ear and a nose, a vulva. There's no difference. So I really think that we need to change our culture. And I think it does start with groups of women. I do. And if groups of women with multi-generational in them can be really frank and open about body functioning and desires and changing hormones over time, I think so many issues can be avoided. I think negative sexual experiences can be avoided. I think that the challenges that I deal with and help women and couples through a lot of them would be avoided if women had this nice secure network of other women they could turn to. And men need it too, but I'm just focusing on women right now. I think, oh my gosh, so much could be avoided. And not only avoided, we don't want to just look at pain being avoided. We want to look at what could be accomplished, how much more pleasure and joy and happiness and connection and unity and all of that stuff could be happening in marriages. So this is my challenge to you. My challenge to you is to start talking wherever you are on the path, however you feel comfortable, whether that's with your mom. I mean, it's really powerful talking about it with your mom, but if that's with your friend or your sister or somebody you feel close with, or your children, just let's start having frank and open conversations and seeing the value that this can have on our world, not only our personal lives, but really transforming society. You guys, it's just biology. It's just bodies. It's no big deal. It's just like talking about the weather. I mean, it's just all that made up stories about shame and we shouldn't do this and you're talking too much and too much information and all that. That's just all made up garbage, and it's not supporting marriages and it's not supporting you. So I challenge that to you today. And I just want to geek out a little bit. Oh, someone's giving me hearts. I just want to geek out a little bit, or just, I don't know, geek out, but like just feel some love for my mom because as some of you know, I've been doing a lot of podcast interviews and she's been saying, I want to listen to them. I want to listen to them. And I'm like, okay, like go for it. But I'm very open about everything. And so she just listened to one of my podcasts for the first time. And she sent me this text this morning. She said, I just listened to your podcast. Wow, I am so proud of you. Many times during the interview, I thought, I want to sign up. I was talking about my program. The synergy between you and the host was great. Well done. You are going to have a great career as a public speaker. You guys, I talk about sex And my mom sent me that text. And I also have still kept my maiden name. So she still has my last name. I often joke with her about that. I'm like, you probably want me to change my last name, but she's amazing. And I want to say this relationship has developed over time. It wasn't like this in the beginning. So you might be thinking, oh, you just have a mom who's open, or you're just, no, like this wasn't like that for years. And so that's my challenge to you. If you are looking for a community of women who you can speak to about this, about body functioning and relationship stuff, and not just a community of women you can speak to, but a community of women who will support your marriage, then I highly encourage you to join our live Q&A call about 30 Days to Wanting It More. That's happening this Friday the, whenever you see this, Friday the 14th, I believe, at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll put the link below where you can join that. And I invited some of the more senior, more veteran mentors, whatever you want to call them, women from 30 Days to Wanting More, to share their stories and to answer your questions, because I just want you to have a taste of what it's like to be with a group of women like this. So I'll talk to you guys soon.